Okay, so here we are. I'm here with Brent Delman, the cheese guy in Yonkers, New York. We're talking about getting the mold off of Judaism and Jewish cuisine. So let's get started. I'm going to turn this around so people can see you, and let's go.
Okay.
Let's
all right, cool. So
tell us about this.
This is my cheese cave. Some people, some guys have man caves. This is the cheese cave. Oh. So this mural, this is the
John Travolta.
Yeah,
I love it. You can see it. Yeah.
Late stage Elvis kind of cheesy guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our part of our logo. This the mural was spray painted by a famous Bronx graffiti artist by the name of King B. Came in here and did it in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
This is a little bit of my craft beer collection that I love to pair with some of my artisanal cheeses.
Very nice. Beer and wine, beer and cheese, wine and cheese.
Yeah.
Interesting. Good stuff here.
Also have a separate wine collection.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look, Esther's on. Yeah.
She's
yeah, it's getting more of this, getting it after Shabbos. Yeah. Yes.
Very cool. Should we enter the cave?
Let us go. Let us enter the cave.
Come on in.
Oh, wow. Look at this. Kind of looks like specimens from another planet. Wow. This is really cool.
So these cheeses, would you like me to...
Please tell us about the cheeses. Yeah, sure.
So there's about 15 different varieties of cheese in here right now. It's a little bit lower than normal. We stock it up completely during farmers market season, which comes in around end of March, goes through end of November, beginning of December, and we're fully stocked. These are French aging racks, so the cheese is aging here. There's a term in French that's called affinage, so I consider myself somewhat of an affineur.
An affinage is like a wine connoisseur.
It's more specifically the aging of the cheese, the maturation of the cheese.
What's the word again? Affinage?
Affinage. Right?
Affinage, okay.
So the person who participates in the affinage is an affineur.
You're an affineur.
Right. So somebody in basic English, it's somebody who ages the cheese. So the cheese is made and then goes through an aging process, a maturation process, where it grows all the funky things you're looking at, all the molds and the yeast and the bacteria that comes into play here. And so we have some interesting things going on in here.
Really, really cool stuff here. Wow. This is the real moldy stuff.
So you have about 7 or 8 countries that are represented. So what you're looking at right there is a Pecorino Romano from Sardinia, Italy. That's been aging about 6 years. So
wow.
It's got some serious mold on the outside, but we're letting it go. And this is not only this is for us to take out to the farmers markets and for friends and family to eat when they come by, but it's also a little bit of an experimental lab down here. So I throw things up and let nature and all the microflora, all the microorganisms that are coming in from the yard. We're here in Yonkers, not too far from the Sawmill River. Sawmill River Parkway is down the road, so we get all kinds of interesting, funky things in my yard.
You're saying this is also the perfect environment to be experimenting these kind of things. You use your natural resources, the environment, to play around with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so cool.
Microorganisms
now
come into play from the natural surroundings outside. I have trees. I have fig trees.
What do you mean the microorganisms on the trees? How do you? What do you?
That are
the atmosphere. You're saying it's just in the air. Like how do you put that in the cheese?
Yeasts and molds and microorganisms that are like floating around in the. So this got here somehow, right? Tiny little microorganisms that are working their magic on the cheeses. So what there are a number of different processes that are taking place. Breakdown of proteins, breakdown of sugars inside the cheese, which is helping to mature and age the cheese and develop all kinds of interesting flavors. So, but it comes from our surroundings. So there's the term, maybe you're familiar with, terroir.
Yes,
right.
the
So,
land.
Yeah,
we use that in wine too.
Yeah, right. So wine. So and that normally refers, you're thinking about a nice serene setting in the south of France or somewhere like that, where the salty air is coming in and affecting the soil, and the soil is affecting the flavor and the sugar levels in the grapes, and etc. So terroir plays a part in the aging of cheese, the production, and also it plays a part in the production of cheese because it affects what the animals are going to be consuming.
So the animals that this is made from. Oh, so over Shabbat, I was going to say, you brought the shul to Lincoln Park Jewish Center. You brought some buffalo milk cheese and some different goat milk cheese. Can you show us those?
So, do we have some of that? Yeah, this one here. This one here is a water buffalo.
Is that one Chalav Yisrael?
It is Chalav Yisrael.
Chalav Yisrael buffalo cheese, guys.
Yeah.
Buffalo milk cheese.
So this is a very white, almost an ivory white color, you could see, because that's the color of the milk from the water buffalo. So there are a few countries in the world that produce water buffalo milk and water buffalo cheeses. Italy is one of them. So
I did not believe that Italy has buffaloes. When I hear buffalo, I usually think of America.
Right. So these are not American bisons. These are water buffalo from Italy. They also have a breed of water buffalo in India that produces a lot of milk that goes into the production of cheese. So quick little tour of, so these are Israeli sheep milk cheeses, similar to a manchego. Okay, these are aged for about 18 months now.
Wow.
Here I have some Spanish cheeses, real manchegos. When I say real manchego, means that it's sheep milk cheese that comes from the La Mancha region of Spain. So it's allowed to have that protected name, manchego. So we have Israel and Spain and Italy, and a lot of these are the domestic, locally produced Goudas and Havardis and Cheddars. Most of my cheeses are actually produced in upstate New York and southern Vermont. So I go locally, and I'll bring up all the ingredients other than the milk. We use the milk from the local farms, and we produce on the farm. And so all the bacterial cultures, the rabbi comes up, the mashgiach comes up with me. We kosher the facility. He koshers the facility. And they clean all the equipment and everything. Make sure we do it in non-kosher facilities because we want the best of whatever the non-kosher world has to offer, the best milk and the best cheese making facilities. So we clean the facilities. We bring in our own bacterial cultures, a lot of our own cheese making equipment, things like brine tanks and cheese molds. The mold, not the mold as in...
Yeah, that's when you talk about mold and you put it in a mold, you can get that kind of sense. Wow, that's some serious mold right there.
So that we shave off, but the interior is just bursting with flavors. Wow. That's an Italian smoked provolone.
Right here? Wait, where's the... There you go. Wow.
And so we bring in some of our own equipment. So when I say mold, I mean the big cheese mold, the thing that encases the milk and makes the shape of the cheese. Sometimes it's a square mold that produces a block. Sometimes it's a round mold that produces a wheel. Where
can we find the cheese guy, other than the website, thecheeseguy.com? Yeah, but where can we find your cheeses?
So the products are sold in specialty stores and kosher stores all over the New York tri-state area. So we have Whole Foods and Fairway, which are probably some of the best known, Morton Williams, Westside Markets, and then also the little independent kosher stores, Benzies in Crown Heights, all the Teaneck, Cedar, and Glad Express, and Grand and Essex, and West Orange, and all the different.
And are you specifically dealing with kosher, or exclusively, or
no,
mostly?
Not. Probably one of my biggest customers is Whole Foods. We're in just about every Whole Foods from from South Jersey up to Maine. And we're also in some chains in the Midwest, Heinen's in Cleveland, Ohio, Jewel Osco in Chicago. So we're in a number of stores that have very little kosher clientele. And it's sold because it's what I like to think is good cheese.
If I may, we're talking about breaking the mold or getting the mold off of Judaism. We're having this conversation about things that need to change in the Jewish world, and sometimes the way to discuss those things is through food. What were you saying? You open your presentation saying?
It's a very exciting time to be in the kosher world, to be a kosher consumer. There's exciting things that are happening. Most of these cheeses were not even available.
Whoa, almost fell over there. Yeah.
Most of the cheeses, some of the hazards of the cheesecake.
Wow.
So the most of these cheeses were not available in the kosher world just a few years ago. And things are changing. One of the reasons that they've changed is because we have a microbial non-animal rennet that is put into these cheeses to help make a hard-aged cheese. That was not available a few years ago. What was available in the kosher world were the soft cheeses, things like cream cheese and farmer's cheese, and like a very soft, not too flavorful Munster or mild cheddar, those kind of things. But these are now aged cheeses. One of the first times that it's available in the kosher world. They're doing some nice things in Israel, some fun, amazing new things in Israel as well. But it's sort of we're running on similar tracks here and in Israel. And these things are now available to the kosher consumer for the first time. So it's really exciting. Wines, the cheese, chocolates, all these kind of things. A lot of them have to do with fermentation because they allow for an individual or a company to be involved at an artisanal level. You can affect some of the, so anyway, we sort of, like I say, parallel the foodie world outside of the kosher world. And, for example, like
we're stepping up our kosher game.
Absolutely.
As the world is around us,
right.
the food game.
And people, not only kosher consumers, but people in general in the artisanal foodie world are taking note, and they're realizing. So I have my big signs, and wherever I go, it says artisanal, the cheese guy, artisanal vegetarian, because they are vegetarian, no animal enzymes, no animal rennet, artisanal vegetarian, gluten-free, kosher, et cetera. It's a small batch. So it says all of these things, and kosher.
So it's just one more, kosher.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I've had people, numerous, I get emails every day from, I don't want to say fans, but people who are big consumers and fans of the line, and they'll say it's an amazing thing that you're making these kind of products kosher, and it enables them to keep a kosher lifestyle. And also vegetarians, people who just love the line, say that this is all again relating to the kosher question, but that we're offering a quality product in the kosher world, and we're going to give kosher food, a good name and a good reputation.
This definitely looks like it's to be cheesy. I didn't even intend that one. At risk of being cheesy to shake the mold. But one more thing. So we were speaking about wine and Jewish values, Jewish education, Torah. We do this thing, Tasting in Torah. Yoshua Worth, right?
Sure.
So his partner, Tzvi Laura, in the Heart of Israel Wines, we do a lot of these podcasts and videos and stuff where we talk about where the wine comes from and the place of wine in Judaism, sacrament, and so on. So wine is very, very known. But to you, Brett, there's an intimate connection between Jewish values and making cheese. That sounds like something fascinating we can end with.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are so many ancient texts, Jewish texts that go into great detail about what you're...
Yeah, again, I don't want to follow.
Ancient Jewish texts that talk about cheese. And, we know in the Hanukkah story with Yehudit.
And Halifairness.
Right. And it talks about in the Gemara and the Talmud and story after story and halacha, about what's hard cheese, what's aged cheese, what's Jewish milk, what's chalav Yisrael, what's chalav stam, chalav akum, all the different descriptions of how to make Jewish cheese. And we even know from archaeological excavations in Israel that there's a very, very long tradition of the Jewish connection with cheese. So all of our ancient texts And the other thing is that so with the rennet, we also know that we have to. Part of being Jewish is treating animals with respect,
right?
And treating animals nice and having them treating them properly with respect. So part of what goes into this is the whole. It coincides. It comes together with the whole environmentally conscious way of producing cheese and treating the animals right. And that's all described in the Torah.
Right. We have tzar ba'alei chaim, and and it's very important. I mean, the kosher industry has become so mass produced that we don't even realize where our meat comes from, and what goes on in the slaughterhouses sometimes is just horrible. And there are people in Israel in the political sect who are campaigning to change that, to reform that, to make it even to put kashrut restrictions on factories where they don't treat animals properly. Yeah, so there is discussion about that. There is a growing awareness of that.
Absolutely. So it's like I say, it's mentioned from Rav Feinstein in the 40s. Discussing about what is kosher and how it relates to the American government and what we can trust and what we can't trust, and going back to days of Europe where there was the old bait and switch, how you knew if you were really getting kosher milk or not kosher milk from a cow or not from a cow.
Or is it from a horse?
So that's right. Yeah, many times it was from a horse.
Yeah.
So it dates back to many centuries up until modern times. And can I show you?
Please.
Like to see,
please tell us
one of the ways that we test the cheese here in the cave.
Absolutely.
So let me take a wheel of cheese. To me, this is a beautiful thing. So this is you can see it's an aged cheese. So it's what we would consider a 6-hour cheese,
a hard cheese,
a very hard aged cheese.
Mm-hmm.
This is the what we call Mancelli. That's my proprietary name, trademarked name for this cheese. When I was in Israel, I partnered up with a small producer of kosher sheep milk cheese. It's always been very difficult, as I mentioned before, to make a manchego that comes from the La Mancha region of Spain because of the rennet. So real manchego must contain animal rennet. So this does not. That's one of the reasons that we were able to make it. And then I experimented for a number of years aging it, and some people tell me that it tastes even better than the real deal manchego.
Wow.
So one of the ways that we in the affinage, in the aging world, one of the ways that we test the cheese, so we don't have to ruin the entire wheel of cheese.
Wheel of cheese, that's
right.
The word.
The wheel. This is called a trier. So appropriately named TRIER. And what we do is we put it in and we take a little cross sample of the cheese. We bring it out like this. And look how beautiful that is. And so we have a little plug, literally a plug, and it's all the aromas of a nice aged sheep milk cheese. Would you like to smell it?
Sure, let me try that.
And then if I may ask you to keep the outer cork part, I'm going to break off this part.
Let me try this. Can I try it?
Absolutely. Amen.
Delicious.
Yeah. Good.
Wow. It's got the spicy. Wow.
So this is then used to replug, and then I come down here.
Where'd it go?
Are we still?
You plugged it so fast I can't even see it anymore.
You can't. It's right there.
You can see the lines are sort of a little off. That's the way you can see it.
Right.
Nice.
So I come down here 6 days a week, testing the different cheeses, grading, as in GRADING, grading.
There's so many puns that you can make here. So many cheesy puns. It's just amazing.
Go for it.
Yeah, no, grading.
So
I mean, yeah.
So that's I didn't try it, but it sounds to me like it may be ready to go to market, to take out to the farmers markets.
How do you know something's ready to go? Like what?
It's a personal preference. I've been doing this now for about 12 years. I have a pretty good idea of what the consumers are looking for. We go out to the farmers markets, and I'm a fine schmecker. I like to pay close attention to the fine nuances of cheese and good food, and I look for strong tastes. I look for intensity, and I don't know if you found that to be a pretty intense.
That was pretty intense.
Yeah,
that was really good.
Some of the nuances,
spicy.
You get a little bit of gaminess from you taste some of the sheep. You get definitely in sheep's milk cheeses. Sheep milk is very high in protein and high in fat, so you get a lot of intense flavors that develop through the.
So what kind of wine would you pair with a sheep cheese like that?
I would. You want to have something that'll stand up to it. So something like a Cab or a Merlot or a
Pinot Noir,
Malbec.
Malbec. Pinot Noir is too weak.
Pinot Noir is probably a little bit too light and fruity. I mean, it depends on where it comes from, but I would like something that stands up to, because there's saltiness. You tasted saltiness and sharp. There's a sharp flavor profile in there, so you want something that'll stand up to that intensity.
What's your either favorite cheese or a cheese that has a cool story to it?
So we make a beer. I don't have it right here, but we make a beer cheddar. Maybe I do have. Actually, some of these are beer cheddars. So we make a beer cheddar. We go up to a farm in Vermont. And every production, we use a different local craft beer, and we put it into the cheese production. So during the make of the cheese, the milk first becomes curds. Right. They're like the old nursery rhyme, Little Miss Muffet sat on top of it eating her curds and whey. So the curds are the solid, and the whey is the liquid that drains off. So during the cheese making process, the milk becomes curds. It's the precursor to the hard cheese product. So the curds we soak in a different craft beer every time we produce this beer cheddar. We get rave. Is
that a big hitter? That one?
It is. Yeah. People love it. People wait. So we've used. We're currently using Bronx Brewery IPAs with one of their beers. It's called No Resolutions. We've used Yonkers Brewing Company. We've used...
you go for lagers, ales, stouts. What works best?
Generally an IPA and a dark beer. We usually use two different beers to combine, so we get that nice hoppy finish in the cheese from the IPAs. And so we've used Harpoon in the past, and so I think that what's wonderful about living in a time and in a country like the United States where we're free to pursue our dreams, it's so nice to be able to refer to our ancient traditions, and as Jews be proud of our ancient texts, things like the Torah, the Talmud, the Gemara, Mishnah, that all speak about food, go to great lengths to talk about how we should treat animals, and it parallels and comes in line with modern values of sustainability, environmental sustainability, and the treatment of animals, and the laws of kashrut. And quality is extremely important. And
what was somebody said to you? You bring the quality back to kosher?
Yeah, a number of people have said that. So that makes me very proud that somebody can lead a traditional Jewish lifestyle and not have to compromise on quality.
And enjoy the best of this world.
That's right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.